Resident Evil 2 as well as Resident Evil 3 Nemesis are very popular entries in the franchise. Both games certainly helped establish the Resident Evil series as one of the heavy hitters in the survival horror genre during the mid-90s to early 2000s. Due to the popularity of the two games, they even got remakes, and there's a lot of material in the Resident Evil universe that mentions or covers the events that happened during the Raccoon City outbreak. Today we're going to be looking at one of them with Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, a squad-based third-person shooter set during the events of both Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. But before we begin, a huge thanks to Burnsy NYY for not just helping me play through the game, but also for capturing the reference footage required from both versions of Resident Evil 3. You can check out his Twitch channel, which I'll leave in the video description and in the YouTube card, which you can see in the top right corner, where he streams 4 days a week, and you can even see the playthrough of this game from his perspective. I show up from time to time on stream, so who knows, you might see me around. In Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, you play as one of the members of the Umbrella Security Services Delta team, not to be confused with the team that got wiped out in Resident Evil 0. This new team is known as the Wolf Pack, and each member has their own specialties. The beginning of the game has them meeting up with Alpha Team Leader Hunk to stop William Birkin, a major character from Resident Evil 2, from handing over his research on the T-Virus to the US military, and to retrieve samples of the G-Virus that he'd been working on. On their way to meet Birkin, the team have to fight through waves of mercenaries from the Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service, or UBCS for short, and then after Alpha Team meet Birkin, the US military. Things go bad for everyone when Birkin injects himself with the G-Virus sample and mutates, and as you escape, Hunk stays behind to retrieve the sample that had been dropped. Birkin had destroyed some of the samples, and long story short, ultimately this leads to the virus contaminating and spreading to Raccoon City, causing a zombie outbreak. Umbrella, being behind all this, doesn't want to be held responsible, so Delta Team is redeployed into the city to make sure Umbrella's involvement gets erased and to kill anyone who knows. The game is more of a what-if scenario and is considered non-canon to the series, and as well as playing as the Umbrella Forces, you can also play as the Elite Echo 6 squad of the Special Forces branch of the US Army in their own scenario as DLC. This was added in late into the game, so in essence it created an additional what-if scenario. The scenarios can be played alone with AI teammates, or with up to 3 others as an online co-op experience. The game does feature other multiplayer modes, but well, you can sort of see why I didn't cover that. Nonetheless, is this game any good? Find out in The Good. The game is fairly competent as a squad-based action third-person shooter, and you'll get the most mileage out of the game by playing it with others online. The game's mechanics I feel flow pretty well and works in favour of it. As you and your squad explore various places around Raccoon City taking out enemy units, you'll also have to deal with the zombie problem as well. Thankfully, zombies don't discriminate who they attack and will attack you and your enemies, and one of your characters even has the ability to control a zombie, allowing it to be a temporary ally. Each class have their specialties, and this can affect their loadout, with the medical expert being able to carry multiple first aid sprays, while everyone else in the team can only carry one, for example. Or Spectre, the surveillance expert that I played as through the game, has the ability to detect enemies and items from a distance. Coordination and finding a good balance with your team is key. The game also introduces an infection mechanic. You can be potentially infected by zombies, and while infected your health will go down slowly, but zombies will tend to ignore you. You can keep the infection at bay by constantly healing yourself with herbs or first aid spray, otherwise you can cure yourself with an antiviral spray. If your health drops to 0 as a result of the infection, you'll turn into a zombie and will need to be put down, but thankfully if you're down, another player can revive you. The game also has a bleed mechanic where being shot constantly may put you into a bleeding state. This will attract nearby zombies to you until the bleeding is stopped. Zombies also have the chance to become Crimson Head zombies. These are easily identified by their red appearance, and in this state the zombie will deal more damage and will become faster and much more dangerous. At the end of each level you are graded on how many enemies you've killed, how many times you've died, the amount of items collected, and how quickly you beat the level. You also gain experience which can be used to enhance your abilities, or purchase new weapons for your starting loadout. To summarise here, I think the game's mechanics work well with the Resident Evil setting, and that the best experience would be to play the game online with other players so that you can coordinate and work effectively as a team. I do like a lot of the cameo appearances in the game. The game features characters and locations from Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, with the actions of Delta Team directly affecting the fates of the characters of Resident Evil 2. Hunk, Leon S. Kennedy, Claire Redfield, Ada Wong and Sherry Birkin are characters that you'll come across, some as Delta Team, some as Echo 6. From Resident Evil 3, you have Jill Valentine, Carlos Oliveira, and Nikolai Zinoviev. The BOWs, or bioorganic weapons, have been picked appropriately, with both squads having to deal with Lickers, Hunters, Tyrants, William Birkin, and of course you can't have a Resident Evil 3 cameo without the Nemesis T-Type. All of these characters play a role in the story for both squads, but Leon, Claire and Sherry have the biggest role, as I mentioned earlier, because one of the features of the game, and spoilers ahead, is that you can potentially retcon the events of Resident Evil 2 by securing Sherry and killing Leon and Claire. Whether you do so or not is entirely up to you and your squad, and if there's any disagreements, well, you'll just need to sort them out. The game features locations from both games, and one of the scenes you play through as Echo 6 involves replacing Delta Force from Resident Evil 3, fighting numerous tyrants at the incineration disposal plant with the help of an anti-BOW rail cannon. Though unlike in Resident Evil 3 where both parties mutually destroy each other, Echo 6 survives. Admittedly, the cameos were a nice touch, but we're going to look at what wasn't so nice in the bad. As I said earlier, the game is fairly competent as a squad-based action game, and you'd get the most mileage out of playing it with others online. Single player with 3 AI squad mates to me is pretty boring. I felt the squad AI were decent in a firefight, but while they use their first aid sprays to recover damage to themselves and teammates, because let's face it, you'll be taking a fair chunk of damage in the game, they'll pick up first aid sprays to replace what they use, but will not pick up herbs to heal themselves. I also tried directing the AI to a room with a first aid spray, which they just ignored and stood outside, so I ended up having to use mine to pick it up. The game does try to encourage replayability, and it's clear from the experience cost of weapons and skills, but even with friends I really don't feel like replaying the levels, finding data to upload, as well as shooting cameras and enemies just to get the experience I need for a weapon I'll most likely be swapping out at some point in the level. We did come across the odd bug in amusing ragdoll models at some point during the game, though in the bug's case I think it's more of an issue with the game than latency. It also doesn't help that pretty much anything that fought back also happened to be a bullet sponge. Enemies can shred through your health like a hot knife through butter, and unless your friends are aiming at the same enemy, it's not uncommon to unload a lot of your ammo just to kill one enemy. I feel like the developers were trying to show off the bleeding frenzy mode where zombies are attracted to human enemies that bleed, but I think there needs to be more of a balance with your durability and the amount of damage your weapons can do. Tying into my previous point about earning experience to buy new weapons, I sure don't feel any stronger or more dangerous with some of them, though I will praise the attempt to balance the weapons as the more powerful ones are either limited with ammo or firing rate, with the grenade launcher for example noticeably doing more damage but unable to be reloaded. Other than that, I don't have much else to complain about here, so I'll wrap things up with the opinion. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City by all means isn't exactly a terrible game, but it isn't exactly great either. Outside of the Resident Evil Raccoon City setting, there isn't much going for it. The game I think is pretty good for a squad-based action game with some solid mechanics, and I do like the references to Resident Evil 2 and 3, but the game is best enjoyed with friends or other players as the AI squad mates could have been better, and I didn't really feel much of an incentive to replay levels and plough through bullet sponge enemies again just to save up experience points for this one gun that I really wanted that I would probably swap out during a level anyways. The game was a pretty decent attempt, but I don't think it'll ever topple Left 4 Dead 2 as the multiplayer zombie killing game of choice. If you're a fan of Resident Evil, then as part of the franchise it's worth taking a look at just out of curiosity, but I think it's one of those games where you can spend an afternoon mindlessly shooting at soldiers and zombies with friends. I'm pretty much being a broken record here, but it's definitely more fun with other people than as a single player experience. So with that, it's time for my rating. I would give Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City a policeman zombie out of 10. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next Infinite Backlog review. If you enjoyed today's review, feel free to check out some of our other videos and subscribe for more. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram and our Facebook page. Once again, thank you for watching.